What's going on, everybody? It's Jay Wilson, and today is the day you get 5 tips on how to make your aquarium better. How to further your aquarium along with 5 easy steps and maybe a bonus one at the end. But before we get into this, do me a favor. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Let me know what the absolute dream fish is for you. I'd love to hear about it. Well, there's also some really cool exclusive stuff going on the member side, so if you're interested in that, you can click join. All right, 5 tips on how to keep your aquarium from not being so good. In better terms, 5 tips on how to make your aquarium that much better. Let's go. Tip number 1. Tip number 1 is easy. Stop touching your aquarium. Get your grubby hands out of it. Now I'm gonna be honest. It's inviting. We wanna dig around in there and move some things and oh man, I need to move that plant and I gotta move that rock and they shifted the sand. I get it. I totally understand. But if you go off of the rule that I've kind of enacted for myself, it is 10% touch, 90% look. Use these, not these. That goes along with your filtration. Stop cramming stuff in there and start just allowing these things to do exactly what it is they need to do. Filter. Whether it's a hang on the back, whether if it's canister, whether it's internal, whether it's a sump, it does not matter. Let it do what it does and stop jamming things where they don't belong. Same goes with the aquarium. Stop touching it. Let the fish, let the inhabitants live their life. You don't like it when your parents are all up in your stuff, so stay out of theirs. Tip number 2, less equals more. No, it truly does in the sense of an aquarium. Now let's say you're keeping African cichlids. What's the first thing you get told when you're like, hey, I want to keep African cichlids? Man, you better overstock them bad boys. Let's cram them in like sardines in a can. You ever been to the Asian market where they just slap a ton of fish into the small aquarium and you gotta pick your catfish for dinner? Nah, they ain't living their best life. It's the same thing that goes. Whether it's with decor, whether it's with fish, less is more. You don't have to cram things. You don't have to continually put stuff into your aquarium. There is really no set number of fish that you have to keep. As a matter of fact, most fish, unless they're schooling fish, don't really school with each other kinds. They only school or hang around their like kinds. So for instance, if you had a Tropheus Morago Tanzania, you're typically going to see 99.9% of the time, I made that statistic up by the way, you're gonna see the Moragos with other Moragos. You're not gonna see a red rainbow Kasenga with that specific fish. And a lot does play into the role of where fish are found, whether it's African cichlids, South American, Central American, community fish, saltwater, it doesn't matter. All of the rules play the same. Less is more. The more things you have, the more fish you have, the more things you have to buy, the more things you have to do. So if you do less, you'll find that the enjoyment of this is far more abundant. So before you think you need 30 fish inside of a 4-foot tank, think about maintenance, food, cost, and well, the stressfulness of having that many fish or decor crammed in. And then there's that thought that, well, I'm gonna keep African cichlids, so I need just a ton of rocks in there. That's not the case either. That's not the case. So just remember, in whatever it is you do, less is more. Food, touching, remember tip 1? I mean, all of this kind of ties together. I'm not making this up. I do this all the time. Can't you tell? Less is a whole heck of a lot more. And you'll probably see a lot of natural behaviors happening when you tie all of these tips together. I've got breeding colonies on the right and breeding colonies on the left. No hybrids, actual family on the right, actual family on the left. Less is more. Enjoy. Tip number 3, try to mimic a natural environment. Now, I'm not saying chase it to be exact like a biotope, and the loose translation of a biotope today as to what it actually is everything comes from that specific area. But today I would say that this is a simulated biotope, right? It's not truly a biotope, but I tried to recreate a natural environment. I have 2 canister filters and 2 power heads pushing high current from where these buffalo cichlids can be found. And they like fast moving, clean water. A lot of fish like that, just like my zebra plecos. So when it comes down to it, I try to mimic a natural environment. I'm not gonna slap a no fishing shark dead center or put a castle in there. Now, I'm not saying that you don't need to do that or you shouldn't do that. That's completely up to you. I'm just giving you 5 tips on how to make your aquarium that much better for you. And when you mimic a natural environment and you scape it in the way that is more natural to the fish, and you allow them to do what it is you're doing, and you're not touching, and there's less of it in there and not as much as you think there should be, you'll find that all of these behaviors, the environment you were thinking about, the fish that you saw has colored up. It is looking and displaying exactly the way you had hoped, because you provided that fish with as close to a natural environment as you could provide. That's pretty big, like really big. If you had, if you purchased a lizard, an arboreal lizard, you're not just gonna let it be in a 20-gallon long. You need tall. They're found in treetops, right? So you're gonna mimic that natural environment. The same goes with your fish or any of your underwater inhabitants. That comes from temperature, that comes from flow, that comes from, yes, pH, that comes from even sometimes TDS and alkalinity. Yes, alkalinity even in freshwater. So if you're looking to provide that almost perfect natural environment, you're gonna look to a lot of those details. Doesn't mean it's necessary, but you'll find that you'll see a lot more natural display and a really nice piece of the rainforest, of the Congo River, of Lake Tanganyika, Lake Malawi, Victorian Basin. Heck, it's pretty sweet. Tip number 4. Yep, research your fish. I'm telling you, you research everything. You research school districts, you research clothing, you research cosmetics, you research cars, you research electronics, you research restaurants before you go out. Why are you not researching the fish that you are keeping, or let alone that you want to keep? Now, I hope that this tip gets you before you get fish, and you can research to make sure that you can provide them with what they need, because every fish has a specific need. Sometimes those needs, maybe they cross over and you can provide that environment with a couple different species. But at the end of the day, you need to research where these fish came from, how they school, what are their aggression towards same species or other species. Yeah, a lot of this matters, because if you do this, a lot of those questions that you have that maybe you do get upset because you've asked them and people are acting like turd burglars on the internet when they give you an answer back. If we just took a few moments and typed that fish in, where it came from, and maybe clicked on a video like you did this one and watched, you'd find out that the knowledge for what you are about to keep or what you're keeping just grew exponentially. And not only are you going to be able to provide those fish with a much better home or whatever it is you're keeping in your glass box, but it's going to make you feel much better because you're going to know exactly what to do in certain cases, whether it's aggression or whether it's never having that aggression because, well, you didn't put 2 fish that didn't ever want to belong together. I mean, let's face it. We are taking them out of the wild, and hopefully they're being bred in captivity, and we're putting them in what we're displaying as close to an environment as we can provide them that they've come from. And we should probably just do a little bit better at understanding their full needs. Yeah, do some research. Tip number 5. A nutritionally balanced diet. Yes. I feed Northfin. Yes, Northfin USA. However, it doesn't mean you have to feed that food. Now, it's great, But if you're looking at feeding a nutritionally balanced diet, that comes down to a few factors. Did you research your fish? What are you keeping? Are they breeding? Are they herbivores? Are they carnivores? Are they omnivores? Do they only eat something specific? There are fish out there that won't touch a lot of other foods except a specific food. So we really have to understand nutritionally what that fish means. Now, I'm not saying a nutritionally balanced diet is, yeah, man, I fed my fish 3 times today. First of all, less is more. And they're looking for a little bit of Dorito and some Cheetos, you know, and taquitos, and you're just tossing stuff like snacks. Well, they make a cichlid snack stick and a cichlid lollipop. I'm gonna pop that in for them. No. Nutritionally balanced, less is more. If you're providing them with a nutritionally balanced diet, their digestion will be better, their coloration will be better. Not better than it was ever designed to be, because you don't want to artificially enhance. That never stays in anything artificial. Right? Think about whether people are artificially injecting things in their body to make themselves look bigger or to be whatever it is they're trying to be. If you're artificially enhancing the fish's color, what happens? Well, when you stop, the fish's color reverses and potentially hurts their genetics at reproducing. The other thing is a nutritionally balanced diet actually plays a huge role in your aquarium because the fish is more balanced. If they're nutritionally deficient, meaning they don't have the proper diet, maybe they get more aggressive. Maybe they get stressed and then they bloat and then they could die and then they can stress other fish out. There's just a multitude of things that could happen. Save yourself the time and effort. Feed a nutritionally balanced diet. Now, if for some reason you couldn't afford a nutritionally balanced diet, then maybe you need to start looking at fresh veggies and some cheaper ways to feed them a nutritionally balanced diet. Sliding into a big box retailer that isn't designed for specific small pet and fish, and you're picking whatever's off the shelf to feed your fish, you're not doing anything justice. You're actually just wasting money because most of that gets sucked up or crapped out, and none of it's really used properly because it's junk. So, nutritionally balanced diet is key. Overall health of the fish, overall health of an ecosystem. Bonus tip! That's right, I said 5, but I'm gonna give you 1 bonus, and this is gonna lead to the motivation, right? Tip number 6, the bonus. You need to learn when enough is enough. Yeah, you do. Too many tanks? Now you're stressed out. You don't have enough money anymore. You're in a relationship struggle because you have too many tanks and they're all over the place and you can't take care of them and it's stressing you out because you're working and you're trying to balance friendships and relationship and your finances. All of this plays a huge role. Know when enough is enough. Just because someone else has 17 tanks does not mean that you need 17 tanks. And just because they can take care of them doesn't mean you can actually take care of them. Maybe your limit's 5, maybe your limit's 1, maybe your limit is none. I don't know. Only you know that. But you need to know when to cut yourself off. And that's with anything in life. That's with maybe you have an addictive personality and you like to gamble. You got to know when enough is enough. Maybe you like to spend too much money on certain fish and it's stressing out the rest of your life. Enough is enough. We need to learn that if we're being pushed over too much in our life, we need to know when enough is enough. And when you are not being treated the way, not that you desire to be treated, but it is actually a reflection of how you're being treated, then we're good. But if you're being treated in ways that is just absolutely abysmal, you're being used and pushed over and stomped on, enough is enough. You have to know, you have to be empowered enough to say, no. Put your foot down. No more tanks. No more gambling. No more of this specific food. Mine is chocolate ice cream. You have to know that the buck stops here. And when you are able to do that and take control of that situation, you'll be so empowered that you'll start to create an even better life for yourself. And then on top of that, you'll be in situations where you'll be able to say, no, I don't want to be a part of that. Because maybe you're just like, oh, I'm just out with my friends and we're having a good time. And so yeah, I did those things that I don't really like doing, but my friends were doing it, so it's pretty cool, right? No, it's not cool because you're not an individual. You have to know when to say no. And it, like I said, it could be with anything. Like, no, I don't want to drink tank water. That's not what I'm about. Okay. And if they're truly your friends, then they'll understand that and everything is honky-dory the way it was prior to, and you can still continue to have fun with your friends. You don't have to do what it is that you do not want to do. And you have to know when enough is enough. Not for me, but for you. I hope this video was informative. I hope you got enough out of it to take the rest of your week, maybe the rest of your year, by the freaking horns, throw away all the trash, stop listening to the negative, and attack it. I'm tired of hearing the excuse of, oh man, it's COVID, it's this, it's everybody's mean. Everybody's been mean. There's always been something happening in the world at any given time. We have to realize that it is not a unique situation that we are necessarily in right now. We're just responding to it in different ways than we've ever responded to something. Take control of what you can control, let go of what you can't, and know when to say enough is enough. Well, thank you so much for watching. You know what's next. Holla!